list. I didn't bring it.
It's a comprehensive list. I understand.
Yeah, but it would just allow those two types of uses in that overlay district is what has been discussed with me so far.
And they would have to get a business license.
Correct. And they have to get a business license with a home occupation as well.
Yep, every year. All right. Now, when you say no parking in the front yard, you're not talking about the right of ways. They can still park.
Correct.
Right.
I'm talking about off-site, off-street parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no parking lots in front yards.
Correct.
Would they be allowed?
They've been discussed. Again, this is
Right. Yeah.
I provided these to start the discussion based on the discussion I'd had.
I understand. So someone who is zoned GR2 and they want to have, I don't know, a real estate office, some other professional office. In this overlay district, can they make modifications, come before the design review board to add parking or to add a wider driveway or signage, or can they function just like they were in a business, or is this?
Well, so that's something that would need to be taken into consideration, because if it is going to be a true business, someone is not living there, then yes, it would have to meet business code for buildings, which would require changes that are not required for a home occupation.
So you could be GR2 or GR5 in the overlay district. And if you were operating a law office or real estate office or a hair salon, you can come before the commercial design review board, make modifications to your property, add parking, add sidewalks, add signage, but you're still zoned GR2 or GR5.
Yes, but in the current map of the overlay district, it would go before the BAR.
Because it's all in the historic district. Understood. So then what happens if in year 2, they decide they don't want to operate as a professional business anymore and they want it to be a house? They take the parking lot out?
It's a good question.
Okay. I'm only asking a question because I don't know. And
Yeah, that's something that hasn't been discussed yet.
Okay. And this has to go back to planning commission anyway, right?
It would have to, yeah, this is not, obviously not an ordinance format. This was just bullet points to start the discussion before we put it in the ordinance format for planning commission's review. So yes, it has not gone through the review process. This is just determining whether y'all want it to go through the review process, basically.
And so a planning commission will have a public hearing and all these questions we don't know the answers to will be hashed out.
Potentially.
Oh.
Yes. Or if y'all want to hash out some of these questions before it gets to planning commission to provide more detail for what gets included in the draft ordinance, you're welcome to do that as well.
Well, I think with any UDO changes, a lot of devils in the details.
It is. You're
Okay.
correct.
I think this is it's an avenue to allow our residents an opportunity to invest in another property in town that may need some rehab, that isn't selling on the market, that, you know, as it sits and needs some work, and they can put their professional business there. We've obviously over the last, 2 or 3 months, we've had a few people that have wanted to rezone property in residential areas. And I'm not against them wanting to have a low impact business in a neighborhood, but what I don't like is us rezoning property in these residential areas to commercial that are then zoned that way forever. And it's just, you know, you can't go back with this method. The start of this process is just a year over year thing. They'd have to reapply for their application every year, which is a positive I like about it. I think that some of these questions Matt's brought up tonight are very, very good questions that we do need to kind of get to the bottom of. But I think this is a good kind of I don't know, I want to call it like a slow walk into some areas that to where these low impact commercial ventures could be used that could benefit the properties that are over there that need some rehab. Actually, the one just coming up on Thursday night, you know, that building could use a little TLC, and so could, you know, the house, and so could someone around the corner from there, as I've noticed them riding around in the last 2 months. But I think there is still some questions we need answered. I know as far as like the driveways and things like that, I wasn't even really thinking about alterations to a home, and And I mean, that brought to light another question such as like handicap bathrooms and things of that nature that would be
Right.
that have
if
to be
it-
in a
if it's
business.
Home, it's just a
Yeah.
business, they would have to have handicap bathrooms.
Right,
and that
you
sort
have to
of
meet
thing.
those requirements to allow fire inspections once a year and things of that nature, so. Those are things we'll have to work out, which I did see a bullet point about have to meet all the codes and requirements and
Mm.
whatnot. So anyway, yeah, I think we still got some things to work on and to get it where it is but I know we weren't looking to get this to council on Thursday, or were we looking?
It's entirely up to y'all. As you said, I mean, just staff wise, I do feel like we need further discussion, so that I have the ability to write an ordinance.
Right,
But I don't know how y'all want to hold that discussion, whether you want to have a workshop to be able to discuss it more freely rather than, y'all
right,
sitting up there and us trying to
Mhm.
talk about it this way, or how y'all want to handle it. So,
yeah,
I would leave that up to y'all.
I think the workshop's good
Yeah.
because then the public can come and
yeah.
put their 2 cents in.
Yeah, I like a workshop idea as well, and maybe we can hammer something down that will solve some of these issues that we're having
Okay.
and get through it.
So by saying workshop, are you saying not to send it to planning commission at this point?
I don't know if we're ready. It just sounds like Jesse's not really. Are you prepared to send it to the
like
planning commission?
Input from y'all before sending anything to plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
Cause I don't want to send something and then it come to y'all and get a whole bunch of changes made and then,
right.
that
Right. Yeah,
type
we-
of thing. So,
Back and forth a few times.
and I don't know if you want to have the workshop with planning commission as a joint workshop like we've done before on certain other things, or if y'all'd rather have it just yourselves and allow some public input. However, whatever method y'all see fit, I will work to get scheduled
If you have
with Beth.
with them, then I would hope when we're done, we're done.
I like that. I mean, this kind of goes back to our discussion about land use map back in February when, we really didn't talk about any changes to that area and, now we are. So it's just one of those things we gotta get to, we gotta get through. So, I think a workshop my feeling is to start with us with a small group first and let's get some discussion going with just a smaller group and then we can brainstorm into something larger, maybe a second.
I will work with Beth,
Yeah,
find a date.
right.
Oh,
Interrupt
oh,
real
go
quick.
ahead,
Yes,
Scott.
You just hit on something that you took the words out of my mouth in terms of, are there other concepts that we would want to have a discussion about related to these kinds of concepts, overlay concepts? Because we've all, there's been a number of discussions and ideas about different overlays. I know Councilmember Johnson has mentioned them before as well. So perhaps beyond just this suggested change, you could have a larger discussion of what you as a council want to do, which direction you want to go in, if any, with regard to UDO changes that you all have been talking about, not those that come to you from outside. So you were going right where I was headed as well, a larger discussion than just this one idea.
That scares me a little for your sake.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like you need a motion for
No.
what you're discussing.
We'll get together and get a workshop going. Bethel. Try to wrangle the herd of cats and see when we can get us together.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks, Josie.
All right, we bring the public safety meeting to order and we'll have Chief Wright come up.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we haven't had one of these in a while, so we're having our 6-month mid-year report for everybody for the police department. Now you can go. Thanks. Sure. All right. So as you can see, so far we matched up our call for volume. I want you to see the calls for service that we went up in from 2024 to 2025. We're up near 100,000 calls for service last year. You also saw that we had 0 homicides, which we had many more the first year prior to that. We've had 2 so far this year. They're both solved, but those numbers there are raw data that was pulled 2 weeks ago prior or when the request was made to have a committee meeting. So you can advance the slide. So this is just police grants. It's a lot of small, tedious reading, but as you can see, we have quite a bit of grants out there that are for different items to include personnel and equipment. And those, we're pretty consistent by getting those renewed every year and every 3 to 5 years, whichever they are. So just, again, you have that in your packages. Over $2 million in awards. Next. A lot of this, you guys could just read down the lines, but we have been very, very busy in the last 6 months. We're very busy in the community as well. As you can see, we do a lot of things with the community. We always have, really proud of that. A lot of the Special Olympics, different things like that. We had our drone first responder that we launched a few months ago for us in the fire department. Also, we've been training all of our police officers and dispatchers and firefighters in Premier One. That's the new dispatch suite that we're going to be receiving. You can continue through the next slide. Again, just more events. We had our officers of the year, dispatchers of the year. We had quite a few protests since last time we met back in November, but they've all been peaceful. We've had no issues at those events, and they've been pretty well attended as well. Next. We've sent some police officers up to Washington, D.C. for Police Memorial Week in May. It's the first time we've sent officers up in probably about 3 years. We had summer camp that we worked with Parks and Recreation for different events in the park, summer camp and whatnot. We'll have that coming up again this year. As Amy was talking about, it's just blown up. The things that are going on here in the town was popularity. Some little things, we added traffic cones for our vehicles and 2 new police canines. And a big one I'm really proud of is our crisis peer support team. We were the first ones in the area to start that up. And we have other law enforcement agencies following suit as well to make sure we're taking care of our police officers, make sure our dispatchers and police officers are being cared for mental health and wellness. Next. Obviously we have our chili cook-off. We sent officers for pit school. We have new vehicles that are finally coming into the fleet, and we obtained our first time full-time chaplain. And of course, we solved our 2 homicides we've had this year. Next. Any questions?
You guys have been busy.
I tried to be quick for you.
Good evening. I have mine isn't, it's about the same length of, as Chief Wright's. Emergency responses, you'll notice, last year to this time, right at 3,489 calls. This year is already at 4,000 calls. So about 500 calls more, this year than compared to last year. So we're going to be flirting with, around 10,000 calls this year. Just to put it into perspective, in 2017, I think our total calls for the year were 3,800 in 2017. So we're climbing on up there. And everything's going up. Medical calls, the MVAs, those are their traffic accidents. Now that's not all the MVAs that are in town. The police goes to more MVAs. These are just MVAs with injuries. And then more vehicles versus buildings, which is astonishing to me. But these are just some of the pictures. You'll notice the one at the bottom is the train derailment that we went on. We didn't really show a lot of pictures from that before, but That was right after the first of the year, and a few more wrecks and fires there. Training, 31,351 hours of training. That's cumulative through every person in the department. That's the total amount of hours. We had 1,044 inspections, lots of pub ed hours, and smoke detector installations. Usually in the summertime, we'll go around to neighborhoods and do blitzes, so that number will increase by several hundred. And some more training pictures and pub ed pictures there. I will say our Explorer program, the photo to the bottom right, is thriving right now. We have quite a few that are looking to pursue the fire service. Just last year, we hired 2 out of that graduated high school last year from our Explorer program that graduated our recruit school this year. So, and then we have another one that's becoming a volunteer this year and hopes to come on this full time as well. So they are doing a wonderful job in that program for our future. These are just some of the awards that the guys received this year in our awards banquet. Some more. These are years of service awards here. I will note Wayne Waters, that's a combination from him being paid and volunteer 40, and that's 40 years of actual volunteer work. If we get a call of a fire in the middle of the night, you can count on Wayne Waters being there for sure. So very, very dedicated volunteer. Some more promotions and retirees. We had Chief Ben Woods retired this year, and then one of our captains had to medically retire, Zach Quinnell. His last day was just a couple days ago. Some other stuff, obviously, we graduated 17 recruits. 85%, this is a big one. 85% of our department is now EMT. We're going to be 100% before too long, so that's great. Signed all the way with Dorchester County. We're still working on the communication side of that. It didn't really expand the area. What it did was it kind of honed in on that Bacon's Bridge, Oak Brook area, those donut holes in there. So it allows for a much quicker response. Actually, it's going to benefit. Their engines and companies will benefit the Oak Brook area a little bit more. We'll be able to utilize their companies as well. So that's going to definitely help us out in that Oak Brook area that's so far away from everything else. We have applied for several grants. We are very hopeful. Probably the big one is the SAFER grant, so we can try to get some more employees. That would be good to kind of help beef up for future companies. And some other stuff we have coming up. Strategic planning for our department starts in July. We don't have a hard date yet. We have our life scan physicals that start this month as well. Another thing I'll show you, the Low Country Therapy. Low Country Therapy is a local clinician, mental health clinician here in town. They're just a few blocks away. We partnered with them last year. Every other Friday, they've been coming in and doing like roundtable kind of therapy sessions with us. And also they come in whenever we need them. So that's a great partnership that we've been working with them. And also working with the Quiet Warrior and Deep End Fitness. This is a company that comes in and kind of helps build us mental resilience and physical resilience. And you can see with the pool workouts there. She's going to come in quarterly and do those with us to help us. It looks very physically demanding, but it's way more mental than anything. You had a hard time convincing me of that while I was doing it, but it seemed very physical, but it was really, really good, good training. So, and I believe that's it. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right.
I have one question, Chief. And this probably applies to the police department too. The increase in service calls, is that an apples to apples comparison, or are we responding to calls that we previously would not have responded to? Like
No, it's just the quantity of calls. They're just multiplying all over. There's not one area that I can focus on more that's like, oh, this is a problem. It's it's cumulative. I mean, we anticipate a little bit of call volume every year. Last year, our call volume went up 24%, which was one of the highest around in the area. And obviously it's going that direction again. So, we were averaging 2 years ago, roughly 20 calls a year. Last year it jumped to around 23 to 25. And this year we're looking at 28 to 30 calls. So it's, yeah, we can't put a finger on it. And even our software that we use to track it has heat maps and it shows all the repetitive areas and everything, but it's just completely spread out. So there are some certain areas that we go to quite often, as well as I'm sure the police department goes to certain areas more often than others. It does show that, but for the most part, it's pretty spread out. So
Very good. Thank you, sir.
yes, sir.
I'm back. Hopefully this will be not long, but we'll see. Councilwoman Johnson has proposed a amendment for the news ordinance, and she and I spoke about it. She was able to send it to me, and I apologize for not reading it sooner than I did over the weekend. But a lot of it is I'm okay with everything. Most of all of it. I think it's got some good beef in there. Talking about, enhancements of different things, definitions of different sound making devices and whatnot. I like that she didn't want to change how we enforce the law as far as how do we measure the noise. I think that was always something that had been, at least the last 5 years, has been brought to the table. I think the newest requests are mainly for the historic district and the business district of the town of Somerville. When it comes to the amount of noise and times of which it should be regulated. And certainly if it goes before full council, we'll be able to have her voice involved and I can ask more questions and we could discuss it further. But for the most part, I don't have any issues with it. I think one big question I had was the jump from 10 o'clock PM to 11 o'clock PM as far as, there being an hour extra for noise. And again, these are just questions I'll need to ask the councilwoman off on a sidebar. And I apologize, ma'am, for not asking sooner. And then I think one of the questions I have were about the historic district. It talks about the historic district and it talks about the business district. And my only question would be, if you're living in another area of the town, would they feel like they don't get the same amount of treatment or protection from law enforcement than those two areas? Why, I guess, without saying it, why are those two areas any more special than any part of the town? And so again, that's just a question that's probably easily answered, but I do know that the historic district and the business district are clearly defined. I know there's a lot of events that happen, particularly in the business district, pretty often. And one thing I did talk to her about was the new bandstand or amphitheater. It's going to be coming to Short Central and how that's going to affect noise. We have the Noisette or this building property that we just came in the other day with, over $1 million homes. You have people over here that are near and around that I'm sure the amplification of external speakers and different things like that are going to cause even more noise for the area. So that's my big concern is just obviously people like, for example, that move near the football stadium. They know that when they move near the football stadium, you, for example, Mr. Halter, obviously you're going to have Friday nights are going to be loud and you're going to have some soccer games and different things like that. The band's practicing. I kind of understand that. But I also know that there are people that live around this particular area right here that may not want to hear a lot of the noise that's over there. So this will be up for discussion, I would guess. I know it was different boundaries, I guess 300 yards or 300 feet, 300 feet of what that would look like outside of this district area that the councilwoman proposed. Again, I'm not opposed to it. I think what I would like to say is, for the record, I would like for this to be settled once and for all, because every year every 2 years we're coming up and we're trying to modify. And of course, we always want to make perfect or as perfect as we can an ordinance, but I don't want to over govern people. I think that, we do have a nice town. We do have a lot of people that come here because of the fact that it's not like some of the areas you go to in Charleston and whatnot. I think that's pretty special about us, but I also want to be able to have the tools and the ability to enforce law or at least have discretion with certain types of situations where we can warn people. And I think that's clearly outlined in all of the councilwoman's ordinance. But I've said a lot. I'll answer any question you have.
You already said you don't know the answer to this, but I'm just going to ask it again out loud. Why we're making a distinction for the downtown business district and the historic district? Why not just have a town-wide noise ordinance?
That's fair. And again, it's a question we can have to discuss. It's so weird that we have people standing here. We're not allowed to talk about it because it's the way it is, but I understand the rules and the law. The other thing that was brought kind of the same. You have, I think that something you addressed in here, it talks about different types of signage for quiet areas. I think everybody would like to think that they have a quiet area where you can't rev motors and stuff like that. So I think that if I get with the councilwoman on a couple things, just where I get clarification, again, I just enforce the law. I'm not one who makes law. It's you all make that decision. I just want to make sure that we're doing what's best for the citizens. Certainly we want to make sure that everybody has a nice, peaceful home to where they don't have to hear the fire trucks and police cars all day and all night, right? Sorry, too fresh. Anyways,
Well, I want to make sure too, and since the parkway's opened up, I have particularly noticed there's one or two vehicles in particular that I hear every single night about the same time, 11, 12 o'clock at night, where there's either loud or no mufflers in the back firing. So I do want to be able to get a handle on that, but I want to make sure that we're not writing an ordinance that's so complicated that somebody could move in next to the football stadium and suddenly not like the noise on Friday nights,
right. And I think that's addressed in here is a lot of that. And I'm gonna tell you, she put a lot of work into this. That or ChatGPT did, but one of the others did a lot of work on it.
What is it's actually more red text. Looks like my Bible is more red text than black text.
Well, it is a lot of information. And like I said, I just want to make it easy for the citizens to understand and for us to be able to enforce it and us still have discretion. I agree with you. And I like that she added in Jake Brake. In all my time of law enforcement, I haven't heard anybody coming from a family that from the trucking business. I know what Jake braking is. And that's the first time I got an email about 2 months ago that said that they're hearing it on the, these different areas of town. And I'm glad that was added in because I'd have to educate my police officers what that sound is and why they're doing it. But it's purposeful in most cases when tractor trailers do that. But ironically, I met with one of your constituents this morning on the second floor by accident. And they were talking about the same vehicle on the parkway around the same time. So.
I got a question. I'm seeing 11 o'clock here. Has it always been 11 o'clock? Or was it 10 o'clock previous?
10 o'clock has been the general time. That's when we close the parks. That's when things start to wind down. Certainly that's left up to however you all want to engage that. I don't know what the proposed idea is for this amphitheater over here of how that will work. That's another thing. I don't understand the permits, like how permits are going to occur, because it talks about you can get a permit after 11 p.m. You may not get it approved. And then the other thing was it talks about speakers and external speakers and different things like that. Well, I mean, that's what we're going to have over here. So I just want to make sure that we're addressing it so we don't come back again next year and try to readdress it. So I think this is a good idea to try to get this down and dwindle down to something that we can work with for a long time.
Well, I'd just like to ask Council Member Johnson why you put 11 o'clock in the ordinance and changed it from 10.
Yeah, so that's specific.
I can't do that. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Well, the red text has spoken. I'm kidding. All right. again, if this goes to full council, you all can obviously discuss this as a quorum. But I can get with the council between now and Thursday if it goes forward or if it goes, gets put off for another month. I don't really care either way. I just want it to be over with.
Yes, sir. And I want to do it right one time. So, Mr. Chairman, if we can table this till next month, I
Okay,
think we have more questions than we do answers and
okay.
certainly more red text. So I'd make a motion that we table this till next month.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll get with Councilwoman. We'll discuss it. I
Okay.
apologize.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
All right.
And I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Yeah, I'll just. Okay, we'll open up our next meeting for Public Works.
Yes, hello. The first item on the agenda is installation of additional parking on Sumter Avenue and Jessamine Lane. After I sent in the request and then developed this exhibit, I realized that the item probably should have been discussion of installation of additional parking, because this is what we have prepared. It all started with the realignment of Sumter Avenue and Laurel Street, with the intent of creating more green space there and to clean up that intersection that used to be a wider Y intersection and tee it up and make it safer for pedestrians. And after that was done, we have had some calls about the shoulders where the asphalt was removed and, wanting sod or landscaping in those areas. And then with those discussions of, nearby property owners or the parishioners at the nearby church, it was, it morphed into a discussion of parking because parking is an issue, especially on Sundays. So we, said, okay, we can possibly put some parking spaces in between the, entrance driveway and exit driveway, as what you see here. This exhibit being, because the best case of what we as staff feel comfortable with. But we also see the issue of parking like that to match the existing parking on Laurel Street to the north would be on their private property. So it would not stay, within the right of way. We could also do some, parallel parking there possibly, but my recommendation is to either let the grass seed take root, because it has been grassed, but it's just not, there's still a lot of dirt, so people aren't parking on it, or sod it. And that is something that Parks and Rec and Amy's department is looking at, with the sodding of that area, and then folks can just park on the shoulders like they have been. But it'll, just be with sod and not knowing if irrigation is needed, because that would be an additional cost to extend irrigation there to that portion. So it's just some discussion to help staff, proceed forward, which way do we want to go? And then also the Jessamine Lane came up with the discussions of, parking on the South Laurel Street. And really the only thing that would still give enough room is 3 angled parking spaces as shown. But right now there's parallel parking for 2 spaces. So would that be worth striping that and narrowing down that area of, the exit of Jessamine onto, at the intersection versus just restriping the parallel parking spaces. Which there would be 2 parallel versus the 3 angled. So would like some feedback.
Bonnie, the red line
Yeah.
towards Central on Laurel. We didn't remove any asphalt there, did we? The only place we removed the asphalt, wasn't it on the other side? On
Which one?
between
It's where right, it's closest
and then that
to
too.
where
Okay.
the new sidewalk
Yeah,
is.
okay,
Yeah, where it's hatched. We did remove that asphalt.
okay.
But right on the opposite side, we did not remove, like if you're going back towards the park or Miracle League Field. Right, we didn't end up removing asphalt there.
Okay.
We just cleaned it up.
Yeah. And then when did the church come and ask you if they could put parking spots there?
It was a couple weeks ago. After they, the work was done and then they saw that, hey, we would like some parking, or it was mainly to discuss landscaping there. Either sodding or putting some landscaping. And then the discussion, start talking about, well, if we do sod, we should get irrigation to make sure it takes root. And then they've suggested, well, why not just put some parking in? And then it's like, well, we could throw gravel in there to park, or, might as well have, put in, but we removed the asphalt. So we didn't want to go back and put in, new asphalt that we had just removed.
Was the church aware there was a public meeting on this? And did they attend?
I don't think so, because once the project got started, we got several calls.
So I'll tell you, this is my district and I've talked to a lot of these churches in this area and they are all have been talking with me really over the past year on and off about parking and senior citizens not having anywhere to park. And the streets department went out there and did some restriping in front of the Catholic church. They also did in front of the St. Luke's up here. And parking is a big issue. They complain about the parking, pickleball course taking all the parking and different things. And it's not just one church. It is all the churches are having an issue with parking. And a couple of them have made the comments about their handicap attendees not having anywhere as well, because that parking is not enough and being taken up. I really feel like this is needed. I don't know that it's worth on Jessamine Lane going from 2 to 3. I don't know how much staff time that's going to take and restriping for one parking space. I don't know that that's a smart use of funds, but the 9, that's how many spaces is that?
9.
Yeah. I think that's something that would be appreciated and is needed. And I really think there's a lot of opportunity in little areas in the town where the town does have some extra right of way, like Presley Avenue. I brought that up before. We have some parking on Presley Avenue that's town owned, that there's the striping is faded. And then we have the parking lot that goes across the sidewalk that is just all asphalt. There's no striping there at all. And you have to drive across the sidewalk to get to it. So that, I think that needs looked at. But anyhow, I think that anything we can do to add some additional parking downtown Somerville is what we need. So
I agree with that as well. I think we should do whatever we can to get some extra parking over there. I know the Baptist church overflows severely and Presbyterian does as well. And they're all, they're right there together trying to share space with the Catholic as well. But question then comes, what do we put down? I don't know that doing sod and irrigation is a good use to, for one, irrigation, then you're gonna drive cars over top of it. I don't know if that's a good idea, but, my thinking it is, I must have missed it when we first did this plan, or that we were taking asphalt out there altogether. I remember it coming out, by Sumter and, where Sumter feeds in, but I didn't remember that on the initial plan to do it, but I don't know. I think asphalt would look the best, but, once again, we're putting back asphalt where we just took it out, but,
Well, we didn't exactly take out all of that. Didn't we just change it a little bit? We didn't take out all of that, right?
We removed a good portion. Mhm.
I didn't recall that was what we were doing. I knew we were adding the stop signs and changing that little intersection there, but I didn't realize it we went up that far, but
What about? How much is it gonna cost now to go back and asphalt that?
we can do that in-house, right?
We can, doing it like it's shown though, that is on the church's property. So that would take a whole,
where we had it
Just
before
put
in
it
the
out
hatch area, not necessarily,
Yeah.
because were they using that for parking before? I would think they
well,
would.
that was the road. I'm sure they parked on the side of the road because
Right.
people would do that. And so if we put the asphalt back, then okay.
No, we
Right,
can't.
right.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that. But the yellow lines that are on this diagram, is that something that's on their property
That's
where
what
most of
I'm
that parking, and
saying.
we don't have the depth to allow that on our own property.
Right.
So I
Oh,
get it. So,
right. Looking at this, we should have prepared another exhibit showing, the best case and having our own, but
so it looks like they could almost just park on their own property, but now it's access to get to it because they're driving over dirt. So I can see what you're saying.
And I'm
Tracking
not
out.
objective of them having the parking. And in fact, across the street, we have all that property up to the purple line, correct? I mean, I would imagine they're parking there, right?
Parking
No,
there now.
they would have to go, is there a sidewalk over there?
Mhm.
I
There
have
is?
seen vehicles parked on
They-
South
I don't see
Laurel
a
Street on the other side.
Over there.
There is some parking there.
Okay, but I just feel like Jessamine Lane or whatever. I feel we're setting a precedent if we're just going out and we're making parking spots for the church. Everybody's gonna ask us for parking spots. And I don't mind if they park there on Sundays, but I mean, that would just cost us a lot of money
Mhm.
to pave that area and make the stripes and everything else.
Are you saying, okay, yeah,
Right here,
right.
you know.
Yeah, oh, on Jessamine Lane, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think anything there, I agree with what Tiffany said earlier. I think anything we do there for one spot is one spot. It's not a big deal,
Cause
but
there is
I think
already some parallel spots there and we could just maybe refresh parallel parking spaces or just leave it.
I don't know how much pervious area they have on their plot of land there, if they could actually make their parking lot larger on there. That's a Jesse
Mhm.
question.
and what did we do? Just backfill that with dirt to the road bed height, to the top of the road when we did the landscaping?
Did. Or we graded the shoulder and
Mhm.
then seeded it,
All right.
but it's just taking a while for the
Well, yeah.
seed to come.
Something about rain and heat and grass seed. Lack of rain.
So,
Um,
so do we want to just send this to full council for just further discussion? Or what are y'all?
I think so.
My thinking is that we would put the asphalt back, but that's just what I'm thinking.
Well, I think so too, but we can't make that decision, right? It has to go to full council. Right?
I need to go to full council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'll move to send this back to full council with a recommendation to repave the spot.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, the second item on the agenda is discussion of the town taking over West Richardson Avenue from DOT. And there's an exhibit of West Richardson. I'm not sure the length that we might want to consider taking over, but from South Maple to Carolina is about 2,900 linear feet. And then the entire distance from South Maple to Cedar Street is about 5,900. So a little over a mile.
Yeah. So, this is, I brought this to council before. We said send it back to DOT. And we did that. We sent it back to DOT for a second time. We also did, 2 years ago and right 2 years ago, about 18 months ago, and then recently. And they basically are standing with what they've said before. But I just want to point out, there's been 39 accidents there in 10 months. Each council member I'll be putting one of these at your chair. I think I talked about it before. There's some serious issues there. There's flooding in the 100 block of West Richardson that I've sent to DOT again. Tim and Josh, as well as you and I, Bonnie, have talked about West Richardson Avenue multiple times. DOT's not wanting to address that. The island we installed at Maple Street has caused some increased traffic. We have on here that I think we're gonna hear it at council, the Greenfield PUD on Parsons, which I don't particularly have an issue with. But that's gonna be 350 additional units and 2 acres of commercial coming out on Central or West Richardson or Maple. So if we're already having these kinds of accidents, it's only gonna get worse. And that's not even counting, what the future of Interfor is. I understand there's a concern about additional maintenance costs to the town, and I can understand that. But I think this I think it's truly a public safety issue. We have a nice pocket park up there. We've got serious issues. And I think this needs to be one of those infrastructure serious concerns we address before the development comes instead of after. And just waiting on something else to happen or waiting on the development to come to address it. I think it needs to happen now. And if that means that we have to trade a road, that they, so we're not absorbing additional maintenance, maybe staff could help us locate a road that would make sense to do that. But I really think this is something that needs to happen.
I just want to be clear from staff's perspective. We are not, for it at all. I mean, it's a DOT road. The condition of it is very bad. There's alligator cracking all in it. So if the town was going to take it over, it should be in good condition. We shouldn't get a subpar, road surfacing. As soon as we get it, it'll need to be resurfaced. That's just something else to think about.
I'd also add to that, out of those 39 accidents, several of those have involved bike and pedestrian, as there's also been a lot of personal property damage. And at some point we have to, to me, this is a no-brainer.
And it's to take it over just to install stop signs.
No,
slow
it's not
traffic
just to
down?
install stop signs. It's to address the speeding, it's to address possible stop signs, possible speeding. I mean, there's a reason all these accidents are occurring. I mean, we need to also, when I've brought up some of the flooding issues in the past with your department, it's been, well, we don't really handle that. It's not our road. Well, when you go to DOT and DOT says, well, we're not really doing that. Well, somebody has to take responsibility. And if that means we have to take over the road to address the concerns, then we need to do that. It really is only going to get worse. That's a lot of accidents. That's no small amount. I'm not sure there's any other road in the town. In fact, as the chief, I'd be challenged to see if there's any other road in the entire town that's seen that many accidents in 10 months. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I don't disagree. That's a lot of accidents. There is a lot of speeding on that road too. I don't disagree with any of that. I am concerned about taking over that stretch of road. It is a well-traveled road. It's a main thoroughfare from, I mean, it's basically part of the 165 road network, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to get through from one side to the other. So it's, I mean, it's a pretty major highway at the end of the day, unfortunately, and it has gotten worse. It's gotten more traveled, and it is in terrible shape. It needs work. I think the DOT needs to step up big time. I think they're failing us there, and I'll say that publicly. They're failing us on that road, as well as some others, and that's that we've already talked about. And I know they have some, of course, some restructuring going on with DOT, and I hope and pray that that works in our favor in the future. But I think that us taking on this road as well as others, I want desperately to do something on Parsons Road and very vocal about that. But at the same time, I worry that taking over the road and us getting into the road business, we don't need to be in the road business. We can't afford to be in the road business. And at the end of the day, that's kind of where we are. I think without funds coming from DOT to take over and maintain that road, then I just don't know that we can afford to do it. And unfortunately, I think that's where our answer to this problem is to force DOT's hand somehow, whatever lever we can pull to make that happen.
And that staff has tried, everybody has tried, that doesn't work. It's a state government organization. If we trade a road, then we're not increasing our maintenance. We're just trading a road.
But I don't know if DOT would take a town road.
They would certainly trade. There's an email from Josh Johnson somewhere in my email that states that they trade roads.
Okay.
Have you not ever traded a road with?
I've only been involved with a municipality taking a road from DOT, but not giving them one of ours. Not to say it doesn't happen, but
I've heard that it's done, but I don't think the town of Somerville, at least in the last 20 years, has done that.
yeah.
Okay, then I would ask council to then, if they are not going to consider taking, I'm not saying they want, I'm just saying if they're not going to consider not taking over this road, then to restrict traffic on it by not approving an inner four development, not approving a greenfield PUD, because it doesn't need more traffic. These residents, these are old historic homes, and when loud noises and people speeding, thankfully my property doesn't sit on the road, but the houses that do sit closer to the road, these old windows can break like that. This is glass that can't easily be replaced. These are historic structures, many of them in a federally historic designated district, and that should be taken into account. There are many towns in many areas in South Carolina. You can drive right through it, and it's a connecting road, and you have to stop at a stop sign every several hundred feet. And that's why people go slow, because they know, or they take alternate routes because they don't want to be inconvenienced. And that's what these residents deserve. it doesn't matter so much to me because I live in the very front where all the traffic is anyways. I don't care. But all the people further down do deserve that. So, and this park right here, that's a busy park. There are kids there all the time, crossing a very busy intersection with people going very fast. And this is not just an enforcement issue. Our police have been out there. It's an everything issue. A lot of things need to happen here, but that's all I have. I'd just like to make a motion to send it to full council.
I'll second that, but I do have one more question. What is the speed limit on that road all the way down?
I know it's
At one time it was-
30 in the area of
At one time it was up
Carolina.
35 at one
35.
time. Can we request DOT to
We-
drop that speed limit?
We have 3 times, officially 3
Mhm.
times.
And what's their reasoning
What's
for?
30 in that little, in the curve section, the 35? Okay.
They
I thought-
agreed last year to add what they did when they did their study last year, they said that they would add some more signage at the S curve, which they did. And I was very appreciative of that. And they said that was the most, they added a little bit more signage. That was the most that they were going to do. He confirmed the results of that study. That just within the past 2 months, he sent back to me, which I forwarded on to Mayor and to you, Bonnie, as well, where they said they're sticking with their results from the last study and they will not reduce the speed limit. And he went to his boss and I went to his boss and I've tried everything.
Okay, well, we have a
Uh,
motion to send to full council in a second. All in favor?
I,
All right.
Okay. And the last item on the agenda is discussion on town taking over portion of West Second South Street from North Cedar Street to North Laurel Street, as well as a block of North Pine Street from West Second North Street to Blocker Lane from DOT for the public safety campus. And here is an exhibit showing that. Yes.
My eyes are bad.
So the request, good evening.
Good evening.
The request is for the town administrator to sign off on accepting this block in front of the public safety campus, basically to allow us to do what we need to do in front of the public safety campus. And it's that first block and then just a block up, just past the parking deck. Park, the on-street park, and we've got the raised crosswalks that are going to be right there.
Okay.
So we're going to be maintaining all of it anyway.
Right.
so we're requesting to take a road over from DOT
Yes,
and
I should have gone in front of Bonnie. Go ahead.
that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're taking over roads, but I mean, I understand this is, it's not a mile or two of roads 'cause it's compared to, West Richardson and just, and Parsons Road that I just gave up on pushing for and was hoping that DOT would do their job, but I guess they're not. So, but in this case, I'm in favor of this to keep the public safety facility moving along as we need it. I'd make a motion, we send it to council.
Why wasn't this brought up, like when we were in the design and the whole process of the public safety? Why didn't we talk about this then?
Oh, it's been discussed the entire time. We thought DOT would approve what we were submitting. So they have not approved what we submitted. That's why we're here.
I see.
Maybe we need a resolution to our legislative local
Yeah.
delegation
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly what we need.
exhibiting our unsatisfied feeling of DOT.
Okay, we have a motion to send this to full council. Do we have a second?
Second, oh, sorry.
Who made the
I made the
motion?
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Right. Do we have a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn?
in a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
So
All right, we have everyone up front and we'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. And there's an error in the agenda because Dan is not Ron.
Not Rhonda. Nope. But good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Rhonda's taken a few well-deserved days off, so here I am to walk us through the budget. Hard to believe we're this close to the end of the year, but here we are. So first thing you'll see there on our revenue summary, you'll see our current period. We took in $2,207,000 revenue, bringing our year to date up to $40,353,000. So we're on our way to meeting goals there. For expenditures, you'll see this period, a little over $4 million in expenditures, $4,024,000. Bringing our year-to-date total, as we wrap up the year, to $50,368,000 there. And then on the next page, see a detail on some of our revenue there. Property taxes took in $240,000 in this current period, bringing our year-to-date total to $21,200,000. So we should be right on target to hit our projections there. Licenses, permits, and fees. This current period, 1.4 million is what we took in, bringing our year-to-date total to 11,167,000. In those numbers, I'd like to call attention, business licenses coming in very strong this year. So we're very happy to see that, almost 7.8 million year-to-date as of this report, and still getting in that revenue from the new licensing year. Similarly, building permits, very strong, 1.8 million there. So that's well over revenues, what we projected. So I guess that's a good indicator where we are economically with the town. Let's see, municipal court fines. We took in a little over $30,000 this current period, bringing ourselves to $279,000 for the year. And in state revenues, $262,000 for this period, bringing our year-to-date total to $4,709,000 there. And feel free to stop me if you have any questions during this. So going on to the next page, we'll see Parks and Rec revenue. Took in a little over $65,000 this current period, bringing the year-to-date to $596,000. So that certainly echoes what Amy said about increased participation. It's certainly showing in our revenue there. And then for miscellaneous revenue, took in just under 200,000, 191,544 for the period, bringing the year-to-date to just under 2.4 million. So we're looking good on all those things as well. And on the next slide, we have our impact fees there. And you can see our year-to-date totals for residential, 1.8 million there. And for commercial, we are up to 1.346 there after taking in 23,000 for this period. Yeah, about 25,000 total there. So that's where we're at on that. And then you'll see expenditures out of that below. Obviously, public safety building, the driver there. And then on our next report, we have our local hospitality tax. Also looking good there. 458,000 taken in this current period, bringing our year-to-date total to just under 5.9 million for local accommodations taxes. $38,821 taken in this month, and year-to-date, $382,611. So we're looking pretty good there. Should be well on target to meet and exceed those projections for the year as well. And then last but not least, we have our stormwater current period. You'll see we took in 12,661,000 over 153,000 in expenditures. But our year-to-date total of revenue is just under 2.6 against our $2.277 million in expenditures. So that's what I have for this month. Anybody have any questions on that?
Any questions for Dan?
Right. I like filling in when it's all good news.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Next is Public Safety Complex update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. Want to give you a quick update on the public safety campus. I'm also going to give you an update on a couple other major capital projects as well, just some updates. So this is the monthly project update for the Summerville Public Safety Campus ending in May 2026. As you can see across the project timeline, we've accomplished abatement, site prep, 50% of the CDs have been issued, building demolition has been completed. Of course, we had our great groundbreaking last month, and phase 1 LDF submissions. And actually, we can actually shade that blue in. Now I think we've got 100% CDs as of this week submitting. Overview, the additional site cleanup was completed earlier in the month in preparation for the groundbreaking ceremony, which was held on May 15th. In accordance with the revised project schedule, the design team submitted civil drawings to the appropriate regulatory agencies for land disturbance and encroachment permits. The schedule status, current phase, permit submission, and finalizing subcontractors to be part of the project team, and upcoming land disturbance permit approval and preparation for site mobilization. Financials currently, same as the original contract amount, $57 million. No payments of this month, no change orders at this time. Only real payments at this time has been through insurance. So that's really the only thing that's come out of the construction project budget. Of course, weather and summary and the major accomplishments down below. We're running a couple months behind our projected timeline, but beyond that, everything is looking very good. And we should be moving forward in construction in the coming months. Any questions on that before I move on? The next item I want to give you an update on is our Main Street Resiliency Project. This is a joint city and county project. Our end is on the end going towards 500 North Main, and the county's is the section going through the Azalea Park. As you know, we've had a tremendous amount of public input on this project. This has been truly a planning project, if you ask me as a city planner, going through the process. We are in the preliminary planning process right now. And I'm going to read through all the current update. What I'll say is we had, I'm going to say it in here, but we had over 300 something comments from the project meeting that we held in January. And just about all those comments have been addressed. I know the mayor's been involved in a lot of those meetings. So I think we're going to still provide a great product and addressing most of those concerns in a variety of ways. It may not solve everything, but we're moving in that direction. So I want to just kind of
Frank, you talking about and saying that, and you'll probably cover this. I'm sorry for interrupting, but from say where we're sitting right now towards 5 Points. Okay. And so we kind of
going through Azalea Park, yes,
is limiting that impact.
And I will tell you too, we've been working with Amy as well and her folks and what they kind of envisioned through the park. So we've already made some revisions there. And I'll go through this and it's probably going to answer some of your questions.
Thank you.
If not, ask me. So planning report has been ongoing and adapting per design changes. Coordination with utilities has now been completed. This is on our end of the project I'm talking about at this point. Still working on updating landscaping plan and cost estimates. Hope to have preliminary report for review in the next week or two. Finalizing report after town review and preliminary second public meeting is complete. Public meetings. Town and County Convention Coordinating Project. First public meeting was held back in January, and we received 362 comments. And I'm telling you, the team has done a really good job in dissecting those comments. And they were all kind of like in a couple of little parallel areas. And I think we've done a good job addressing that. Concept design has been updated and planned to go virtual public meeting is on June 15th. And I think you got that in your packet. You'll see that behind you. And it's got a scan code. That's going to be a virtual public meeting for additional comments on what we've made since that last public meeting updates. The current town's design, this is RN, improvements, new shared use path on north side, updating existing sidewalk on south side for ADA and overall upgrade, adding landscape medians along Main Street, adding landscape throughout, reducing lanes down to 1 lane on each direction, addition of on-street parking, upgrading the signal poles to mast arms, burying all the utilities, improving where the drainage where necessary, and traffic calming lane reductions coordinated and approved through SCDOT. And I will also say that I want to knock on wood before I say this. We seem to have gotten some verbal approval from DOT on the islands that we're proposing at that end on the design that we're proposing. So that's a good thing for us because we're concerned about them approving that. County project, this is on the Azalea side. Following similar path as the town, the improvements include a shared use path on the south side, crossing downtown block, maintaining existing sidewalk on the north side with minor additions for connectivity. This is adding curb and gutter, adding close to system drainage, and few areas on street parking added. Really no improvements in the Carolina to Richland area. And that's just an overview of our side of the project. Any updates or any questions you guys have? on that?
You said no improvements from Carolina and Richland?
Yes, correct.
So
In this
basically,
project.
okay, so we'll pretty much go from here to Richland Street, I guess, and that'll be where, okay. Thanks.
In this scope.
Yes, sir.
Can you confirm with me again what the town portion is costing and the funds that we have? We do have, I think, some state fund awards for that and what we still need.
We don't have a total project cost at this time. We've got an estimated project cost. And right now we've got 5.5, I think. Yeah, 5.5 is what we have in that budget right now. Initially, we said 10.10 maybe. Russ, that's kind of where we're thinking, but we're not there yet, to be honest.
But how much out of how much do we have that the state 5.5 and we expect this could cost us 10?
Yes.
Okay. And we're still working on figuring out where we'll get the rest of that.
Our goal is to get it shovel ready at a minimum.
But we feel confident we're going to maybe get, or we don't really know. There's no really. Okay. Thank you.
We're working on it. Any other questions on that? And the third capital project I wanted to highlight tonight real quickly. This is a project, as Ms. Kimmick can attest, has been going on for many, many years. Started over 8 years ago and was shelved and was brought back to life a couple of years ago. Now we've working on 1.5 years, I guess now. But exciting to say that we are now under construction and manufacturing of all the signs. So we have been working as a team. I will tell you, when I took this on, I said I can't do it by myself. So I had a team, and I want to make sure I highlight and recognize all of them because it's been a lot of work to get to this point. And that is Matt LaPointe in our engineering department. If you don't know Matt, he's a great employee. He's got some great technical skills. So Matt does a great job for us. Our other two, Amy Evans, our recreation director, and Jesse. Both of them had the institutional knowledge because they were both here when it was implemented. So they knew all the ins and outs and everything. And then Remy, who was our city planner at the time, he's not with us any longer, but he also participated. But we're getting very close, and now we're working. I kind of put this up here because this is what we've been working with on Procore to get to this point. This is kind of an active example of how we were evaluating stuff. But our goal is right now we're working with the manufacturer to implement this, not have to wait for all of it to be completed. So we're going to try to start implementing, especially starting in the downtown core, and work our way out. But of course, like, and I told them, I understood this, the downtown signs are the most complex, and, you know, some of the nicer signs, as you can see here, these are examples. So we're going to work from the core, but I told them if they've got some of the easier ones they want to start putting up, go for it. So we're going to start implementing that. And you'll see that in the coming months is what we're hoping for. Any questions on that?
Council members, no questions. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Item C is authorization to issue a purchase order in the amount of $139,100 to WSP for a stormwater utility rate study.
I make a motion, we approve that.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yes, I would just, is the goal of this stormwater utility rate study to revise our existing fees, create a new fee? Like,
It is an effort to review our current fee structure and our justification for it and ensure that it complies with industry standards, and also is in answer to, this is a portion of our answer to the deficiencies that DES cited with our MS4 permit. This is a part of that process. But our existing fee structure needs to be updated. And in looking at it and talking with the consultants, we feel like there's a stronger basis for setting the fees and changing them if the council sees fit. So this is going to be a much more comprehensive look at our stormwater fee structure than what we had previously.
this particular purchase order is about 6% of our revenue, of our stormwater revenue. So we're saying we're gonna spend 6% of our revenue in just a rate study. Did we get bids for this or multiple pricing or?
This is a professional services contract, and so it's not necessary under our procurement ordinance to do that. WSP's been working with us on our deficiency review that DES cited us. And so we wanted to continue with them since they are well-versed with our system, and we're continuing to try and get them better acquainted with it. And this is one component of that. We're going to spend a lot more than 6% of our stormwater revenues on this MS4 compliance issue before we're done.
I'd like to understand the MS4 compliance issue a little bit more, because I didn't realize we had to have a new rate study to be in compliance with our MS4 permitting.
We have to have a justification for the rates that we charge, and my opinion is that our justification is not necessarily as solid as it should be. The basis on which we are charging stormwater fees could be much more solid than what it is right now.
And Mr. Slatton, add to that, when was that original basis done?
1996.
Yeah. So obviously
You
we
don't-
do need another study. I just don't know. I mean, if the basis of this is to look at raising fees, and I feel like ultimately that's what it's going to result in, I feel like then this is not necessarily the right time. And I'm not saying we don't
Well,
need to raise fees, but
I would suggest we can't make that assumption at this point without actually taking a look at our fee structure and how we assess fees. And then ultimately that's going to be up to y'all to decide how you do or don't want to fund the stormwater management system. I mean,
yeah,
and this is the first step in helping you make that decision.
I understand.
And it's not cheap. None of this is cheap. Because a part of this study, I don't know that it's just the rates. This isn't just the rate study. Correct? Yeah, we're looking at inventorying the system. We're looking at potentially mapping this. It's not just a rate study.
Oh, okay.
More. Okay, that's a separate contract. So, okay, all right. Bonnie said that is the rate study. Yes,
So this is the race.
this is the rate study. My apologies.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we certainly need a rate study if it's been since 96. I just hope we don't end up creating new or raising fees anywhere in the near future with us being number 2 in the state, Dorchester County, for foreclosures filed. I go back to that because Dorchester County is town of Somerville's largest county, and that's a real concern that I think we really need to take into consideration for how people are suffering in our economy. So that's all.
I would say that, over several years, the stormwater rates pretty much covered everything that was going out in expenses, but I know in the last, I'm going to say maybe 5 years, that hasn't been so. And so we're constantly going into our other capital fund for, things instead of it coming out of the stormwater. So I think that this is something that's needed. And it'll tell us exactly, how much we may have to raise our rate for the stormwater.
A utility should be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And not have to be propped up by any other funds.
All right. I would just, and if we have been using WSP for everything and they're doing us well, that's great. But I do think we should shop around prices sometimes and make it competitive so people will give us the best prices and we're not just accepting just because they give us great service. We can get great service sometimes from people that charge us less. That's all.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item D is approval of a resolution amending the employee handbook to include a policy on retiree health insurance.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Slatton, I understand that you had some development on your end for the retiree health insurance.
Say that again? Sorry.
How we're going to handle the.
Oh,
retiree
yes,
health
yes,
insurance.
yes, of course. So, the way we're going to set this up is just like what we have for existing current employees. All employees have what's called an ICRA account, if you will. And this is where they submit for reimbursement of expenses under the health insurance plan. Benefit coordinators and Woodard Agency will set up a similar account, an ICRA account, a HRA account that is non-taxable. And it is a reimbursement account whereby, just like what employees do today, they pay for expenses, for medical expenses, and then submit reimbursement with proper documentation, just like employees do now. This policy would allow any unused portion of that monthly $850 to roll over to the next month. Whatever's left in those months rolls over to the next month and next month. So theoretically, somebody could not go to the doctor for a year, and a year's worth of that would roll over to the next year. And so that would continue to accumulate and be eligible for reimbursement to that employee for up to that amount. When they turn 65, that balance goes away. There's no cash payment or anything like that. It's essentially at that point, it's a use it or lose it proposition. But this policy would allow them to continue to roll that over as they see fit. It would be, you could use the funds for any eligible expenses I've including in a medical group or individual medical plan, including for premiums. So that's explicit in here. And the requirements for eligibility have not changed from the first draft of the policy. So made a couple of revisions there to clarify some of those things after meeting with Mr. Halter, and he and I working through his questions and ideas.
So it seems like it checks all the boxes.
I think so.
Think so too. Thank
Yep.
you for your work on that.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of the way that I thought, that I remembered it going the first time we talked about it.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, we detoured and took a little curve on the road or something.
Right.
But we came back to where we are.
Yeah, we swerved back in the lane. That's
Very
good.
good.
Yep.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And back to you, Mr. Slatton.
Okay, just a couple of items that I want to bring to your attention. Remember at the last budget workshop, we've had threw up some ideas about some things that we want to do. One of the things I'd like for you all to do, for those of you especially that haven't maybe had the opportunity yet, is to go and take a look and visit with all of our town facilities. How many of you have been to all the fire stations, all of our parks? How many of you have been over to the Public Works building, Public Works campus? Everybody, most everybody? Well, if you haven't, what I've suggested to the staff, the department heads especially, is that we try and corral as many of you together as we can with proper notice, of course, and pile into the fire department's 15-passenger van, and we just take a trip around town, and you go through and take a look at some of these facilities. So I'll be throwing out some dates for y'all to contemplate on that. Amy has volunteered to be the first person to host everybody on the townwide visits there. So we'll coordinate that. Similarly, I'm efforting a schedule of the legislative delegation. There was interested in you all meeting with them and also with the county council. I think probably the legislative delegation is going to be the easier of the two, particularly with county council elections coming up in November. And maybe we can take a look at that early next year after new members all get seated. Let's see, what else? Your annual meeting workshops, your municipal association annual meeting worksheets are due to Beth by the end of council meeting Thursday night, please. If you haven't turned in that worksheet, she needs that in order to be able to secure you a place to sleep. And I will be on holiday starting Saturday, the June the 13th until June the 23rd. I will be somewhat available electronically if you need me. Any questions about what I discussed or what I didn't discuss?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Slatton.
Next, review of the draft agenda for the June 11th council meeting as included in the June 8th standing committee agenda packet. It's also in front of you up there.
Council members, any comments, questions regarding the agenda for Thursday?
I have a question. I noticed that we are now separately addressing annexation and the rezoning of those same parcels. What happens if we annex a property, but we do not approve the zoning? Can they withdraw their annexation petition?
Mr. Slatton, there was a lot of discussion that led us to this place.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just
Right.
trying to figure out how it works.
So the way we've been doing it by way of a single motion for an annexation and a rezoning, in my mind, is we can do it better by way of annexing the property first by way of a reading, and then subsequently, even if it's the very next vote, rezoning that property. What happens if we annex it and then you don't approve the rezoning? Then the annexation would stand unless it's challenged. It could be challenged. There's a procedure and statute that allows you, I want to say, don't hold me to the date, the amount of time, but you get X number of days, somebody does, to challenge that annexation. Or that petitioner that we annex their property in could go back through the planning process and we could rezone it, or they could ask for a different zoning potentially. I would hope that that wouldn't happen, but certainly it could.
Well, but they can withdraw their application after first reading.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's only after second reading that they're in the town and they may not have the zoning they want.
No, that's exactly right. No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. They would know after first reading whether or not they're going to get the zoning that they want. You're right.
And unless council switched between first and second reading.
They could. You
So
could.
now we have somebody annexed in town that didn't want to be annexed into town at that zoning.
Yeah, I mean, you could annex them on second reading and then not approve their rezoning on second reading.
Right.
But I guess they could jump up and like at the church when you're getting married.
I'm certain they can challenge it quickly
Yeah,
and it would rule
Yeah.
in their favor.
a doomsday scenario there. I like it.
Can I ask on the agenda, do we have to, like, for example, the outdoor entertainment district, when there's edits to it or something, but it's a second reading, how does that work? Like how, if are the edits going to be discussed at second meeting? I mean, at the second reading?
If there are changes that need to be made between first and second reading, then you make those up by way of a motion to amend the ordinance, to amend the motion. So somebody makes a motion to approve, and then you would make subsequent amending motions to make changes to it. You adopt those amendments, and then that becomes the main motion, and then you approve or not the main motion.
Okay. But if there's a lot of discussion and maybe some things need changed and some things don't, then we push it back another month? Is
Yeah, I
that-
mean, you could defer it until another month for sure. You could table it until later on. But as I always like for y'all to do, I would prefer you give a date certain or some sort of definitive deadline for when something could come back. Don't just table it and then not say table it until, or table it until something else happens, right?
Thank you.
All right, council members, any other comments for Thursday? Hearing none, there's one more item on the list.
Movie adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.